Hello everyone and thanks for joining me for this Carbuncle episode. I'm gonna use this introduction to quickly get rid of one element of the series. Even though Carbuncle started as a summon in the 5th episode with its well-known emerald color, it actually appeared first in the 3rd episode under this form. Yeah, actually screw that, it was one of the first monsters you came across and thus could be easily killed in 1 or 2 blows. So, as I said, the Carbuncle lived through the series most of the time as a summon, only applying Reflect on your team. Save for the MMORPG games where it plays a far more essential part as you progress through the summoner job leveling. A lot of first times were associated with this Carby. Firstly, its green and cute animal design with the ruby on the forehead, as well as that signature move giving the Reflect buff to your characters. Getting it wasn't mandatory though, and it could even be missed. And to unlock it, you needed to fight it, which was actually the only time you got it this way. You crossed it in Exdeath Castle. That feral appearance was probably the result of the evil energies coursing the place. Happening in 2 phases, the battle didn't unfold in the same way. For the first part, it was constantly under Reflect in addition to a quite high physical defense stat. It used spells on itself to reflect them back on your team and get through a hypothetical Reflect buff. The second phase started once it lost half of its HP, losing the Reflect buff and all of its defensive stats becoming even worse. Well, outside of the death and banish spells, it was just asking you to end its suffering. The PlayStation remake fortunately scrapped a redesign made after the Carbuncle appearing in Tactics. But even with the shoes on, since it had no shirt, it got no service. Carbuncle was obtained for the first time in the series automatically through the main story, but without a lot of fuss either, since we got it with a bunch of other magicites at the same time. Its summoning once again applied Reflect on your characters, and the spell its magicite taught you were Reflect, Haste, Protect, Shell and Warp. This idea of expanding its potential came back in some other episodes. Missing from the FF7's universe, Carbuncle here had its first 3D model. To get it, you had to draw it from a boss at the end of the first city, or on another boss in the last dungeon. Summoning it, once again, only buffed your heroes with Reflect. About its G-Force abilities, it was clearly support and defense oriented. Recovery medicine refining, turning items into healing ones like high potions. Varied vitality passives like plus 20 and plus 40%. As well as vitality bonus, granting you 1 more permanent vitality point each time you leveled up. Auto-Reflect gave you a permanent Reflect buff in battle, but you had to first learn Counter. Although an item could be used to teach it to whichever G-Forces you wanted, Carbuncle had it ready to be learned from the get-go, which for the first time expanded its countering field to physical attacks. Carbuncle for the second time was automatically obtained through the main story, at least the ruby so Eiko could learn it. Just like the other summons, it had a long and short animation, the short one only giving you Reflect, while the long one had the Protect buff added. Its buffing abilities has been enlarged, just like its ruby. By changing the jewel in Eiko's accessory gear slot, the Reflect buff could be replaced, in addition to the animation name and its forehead stone. With an emerald it became Haste, with a moonstone it was Shell, and finally with the diamond it became Vanish. Last little trivia, it was in this episode that it started to appear with that small black muzzle. The Carbuncle is given a central place for the summoners, even going as far as calling it their job's guide or master, because it's thanks to the Carbuncle's ruby that players unlock that job. After looting it, you need to recharge it by traveling to areas with specific weather conditions reminiscing of the rainbow's colors. The quest's name is even I Can Hear a Rainbow. Carbuncle then restores its real form and rewards you by giving you the right to become a summoner, then flies away. You might have spotted it, the ruby itself on the Carbuncle looks more like a red patch of fur on the head, which has been rehashed for the 14th model. Although you don't have to unlock this class to discover the game and even reach the highest levels, Carbuncle gives a lot of quite important informations related to some parts of the main story. But I won't spoil them. As a pet, Carbuncle is the one costing the less MP to keep, and its skills are more useful as a support. With Shiny Ruby, which applies Protect and Shell on every allies in the area of effect, reminiscent of the Reflect in the previous games. Healing Ruby to heal one player. Glittering Ruby to temporarily boost a random stat for each of the allies in the AoE. Soothing Ruby to dispel up to 6 negative status for each of the allies in the area. And Pacifying Ruby, simply deleting 25% of a player's aggro. Even the Carbuncle's avatar's favor is used to apply regen on all of the close allies. It's not completely devoid of offensive abilities though, all of them being of the light element, echoing the rainbow's property, save for the auto attacks and poison nails, which deals poor damages to one target with a chance of inflicting a poison dot. Searing Light, an AoE dealing heavy damages by consuming all of your MP. Meteorite, less powerful and on only one target, but costing a set amount of MP. And finally, Holy Mist, same idea as Meteorite, but more powerful and at a higher MP cost. Even if the Carbuncle is considered as the weakest player's summon, Carbuncle Prime, on the other hand, is a quite fearsome boss, especially in the high tier missions. You can only reach it after obtaining the 6 first Celestial avatars, then fighting them again in much harder versions, which is therefore reflected in the actual Prime encounter. Every 25% of HP lost, it despawns and is replaced randomly by the 6 avatars. One avatar at first at 75, then 2 avatars at 50, and finally the last 3 remaining at 25%. Carbuncle Prime only coming back once the avatars are defeated. In the end, 5 Carbuncles appear, all more or less randomly using the Searing Light skill, but always if one reaches 1% of HP, which means that trying to kill them all at the same time can go awry. The hard mode only pits us against Carbuncle Prime, which never despawns nor summons other avatars, but can use all of the Carbuncle's abilities, including the buffs and heals. A small hat called Carby Cap can be bought with the special points you get during the repeat login campaign, and if it's available in the monthly selection. Moreover, you can fuse 2 of them to get a +1 version, reducing your Carbuncle's perpetuation cost. Let's head to the next part. Not appearing in the 12th, Carbuncle came back as a rank 2 support Esper in this follow-up episode, and it even was the only Esper with a healing AoE called Ruby Balm. Besides that, am I the only one to think it's another creature wearing a suit? Look, you can even see the front zipper here. No? Anyone? Okay then. 2 Carbuncles appeared in Final Fantasy XIII, a Fal'Cie, some sort of demigods in this universe, as well as an Eidolon, magical beings too, but closer to the summons we know. The Fal'Cie played a major role in Cocoon's society since it was in charge of the whole water and food processing and supplying system. Outside of the name, only the huge kind of ruby the 2 heads revolved around reminded us of the Carbuncle we were used to see. Now about the Eidolon, much closer to what we know. We only saw it in the Nautilus amusement park at the very beginning of the Pompa Sancta parade, also showcasing other Eidolons. Having a voice acting for the first time, it was also wearing clothes. It had only one tail and ears akin to wings. Its overall mascot design wasn't insignificant since it was the Nautilus's. And whenever there is a mascot, there is merchandising, including a plushie which appears in one cutscene. It was only under this form that it made an appearance in FF13-2 and Lightning Returns, in Sarah's room on a chair and in Chocolina's chest, then as a monster adornment. Finally, only as a garb adornment in Lightning Returns. A bit like FF11, the Emerald Carbuncle is here the first summon available for the Arcanist class that turns into the summoner job at level 30. But it barely contributes to the main story, just changing some rare lines of dialogues. There is a small difference though. You don't get it as you unlock the Arcanist level 1, but as a reward for the level 5 quest completion. Acting as a ranged pet favoring spells with even a cooldown increasing spell damages on one target, it's replaced by Garuda Egi at higher level in the Summoner job. At level 10, the Arcanist can unlock another version with a quest, the Topaz. Yes, you guessed it, they are all named after jewels. Acting like a tank this time, it has skills with aggro bonus, as well as a stun and a defensive cooldown. Exactly like the Emerald one, it's replaced by the Titan Egi for the Summoner job. For our pleasure, Square Enix added the Egi Glamour, which can be unlocked with a small level 50 Summoner quest. At the time of this video, you can swap the appearance of your Titan, Garuda and even Ifrit by a Carbuncle of your choice, including one new, the Ruby. You can of course undo them yourself, but why though? Some NPCs are also able to summon their own versions of Carbuncle, even if in the end they're just color swaps with higher stats. Urianger summons an Ember Carbuncle in A Realm Reborn, while Alfino le Veilleur summons more versions throughout the Heavensward and Stormblood main story. The Ruby, the Onyx, the Obsidian, and last but not least, the Moonstone. A Diamond Carbuncle, even bigger, can be seen in Idylshire, but only steps in during a dialogue with the NPC Ulan for the Heavensward relic weapon. Covering all furnitures related to the Carbuncle would take too much time, and new ones may be added in future patches. I'll just talk about the house. Mixing the Emerald and Topaz Carbuncles with the Arcanist related classes and jobs, the roof and windows are shaped like open books, as well as an inkwell for the chimney. The walls, the corners and the lower part of the portal are designed like pile of books. This same portal, the entry door and giant statues on each part of it showcase the Emerald and Topaz Carbuncles. Let's not forget about the rubies adorning the dividing walls and the big one above the entrance, which all glow at night just like the giant Carbuncle statues. Finally, if it's an FC house, your icon appears in the middle of the book shape decorating the top of the entry door. And if it's a private house, it shows the GC icon you're currently in. To conclude this tour guide of the FF14's Carbuncle, I need to talk about the mounts, equipments and minions, which are unfortunately only available through the mod shop and redeemable codes for merch. The Heliodor and Peridot minions look like Topaz and Emerald but aren't glowing and can't fight. The Aquamarine and Citrine mounts are able to fly and have some harness to help you ride them, but the most interesting part is the big ruby adorning the forehead. The equipments are just glamour fodder and are comprised of a hat, a vest and boots. With this, happy St-Paddy, take care and have fun, cheers!
Swear upon the holy book, the